So I've had a very productive day down in Berkshire. Anthony at Berkshire Jags has helped me out enormously, let me take on a couple of XJSs he had lying around, and got some bits off which suited me just fine because I'm far better at breaking things than I am at fixing them. And now we're in the beast, ready to go home. Unfortunately, we lifted 2 radiators today and both of them came out pretty knackered. So while I'm out in wonderful Berkshire land, I might pop down to see Colin at Powerbell and see if he can help me out, because he's a genius and he normally can. So back in the garage, and the XJS is still absolutely caked in muck. That is the nature of the way things are going at the moment. I can't even get it out the garage to give it a clean. Unfortunately, things are all happening at once, which makes this a bit of a challenge. But as you can see, it's sat on all 4 corners for the first time, and it's a bit hard to tell from within this sort of confined space, but I think the stance of the car looks pretty cool, and it should look pretty good once it's done. Just need to get there. So, how about the parts haul? How did that go? Well, we got this, which we needed. A lovely, relatively unrusty, I promise you, by Jag standards, this is a very good wing. Terrifying, isn't it? But yeah, we've got a good wing to go on to complete the front right corner. In here, we've got the bits that we picked up from Berkshire Jags. We were very, very fortunate to find a crusty, shitty old pre-facelift XJS with a brand new oil cooler on it. So we've had that away. That'll do nicely. Unfortunately, the 2 radiators we find down there are absolutely knackered. But we went down to Powerbell, and Colin Philpott, the absolute hero, has provided us with this, which is absolutely pucker. A very, very clean, good radiator, ready to go on. The old radiators are still going to come in handy because the fittings might vary slightly, and we can have the fittings off of those. And just silly stuff like the coolant temperature sensor might have a different boss. 2 different types of plugs off the old XJSs that I stripped, so that we can be fairly confident of having a plug and play coolant temperature sensor to go on the car, because I'm not entirely sure what plugs on the car. One of the many things that I haven't had a chance to look at yet. Also from Berkshire Jags, we've got new headlight cowlings. We've got 2 slam panels, so we can cut and shut them about and have a spare, and a grille to go on. Missing puzzle piece is the front bumper. Unfortunately, still haven't found one of those. A road car bumper is going to look a bit daft on here. It's got the rest of the body kit. It needs a nice TWR or Lister bumper on there. Ideally, I'd like a Lister one, but finding them is quite hard, and they're not in manufacture anymore, which is pretty much what holds up doing something like this. Finding obscure parts that are no longer made is a bit tricky. The great thing about the Jags is the community, and I've got plenty of sources for spare parts, so I just need to tap everyone up and find out if anyone has got one lying around, and then it's complete. I've got some bumpers. I've got the old damaged one, and I've got one that is complete. It's from an XJRS. It's quite a rare item really, but it has been cut about, and unfortunately needs work if it will fit the car, and I'm not particularly keen to use it, to be honest, because doesn't really suit the aesthetic of the car, I don't think, and I'm going to have to hack about another bumper just to mix with that one to get it to fit anyway, which is a lot of effort, expense, and just wasting parts really. That's 2 bumpers wasted just to get something to fit my car that isn't really going to have the right look anyway. But we've got all the bits, and rebuilding the front end, bar the bumper, is pretty much go now. I can start. But there's so many different elements to a build like this that you don't even think of. It really is the daft stuff that holds you up. I figured I would show you a few of the things that make something like this more of a challenge than it first appears. So one of those niggly little jobs that is going to make this take longer than I would like it to is the Marshall's pull cables. They're snapped and they need replacing, which is simple enough, but I'm not reusing this bonnet, I'm using another one, and I don't particularly want to have to hack it about. So I might have to completely relocate those, which is going to be a bit of work. To fit the wheels and brakes that I want to run, I need spacers, but my spigots aren't long enough. I can't race on that. I need to fit new spigots, but I can't use Jag ones. I need to trial and error it until I find something that works. But it's actually in here where probably the most awkward and time-consuming jobs are. The first one is the seat. It's going to need to move slightly because I've got stubby little legs. Throttle pedal is too dainty for me to heel and toe with. I need to modify it. Not only the driver's seat, but I want to fit a passenger seat, there's no question about that, which throws up a whole load of other issues because that may necessitate moving the extinguisher and the battery box. At the moment, the master switch is either bypassed or else it's stuck closed because the car, as soon as it's unisolated, is live, which I want to sort out. On the subject of electrics, I also need to wire in my lap timer and my transponder. I want to wire in a new fuse board to run the accessories off of, the lap timer, the transponder and all the screens up here. I don't want to run them like this. This is before we even come to driving the bloody thing, because ultimately I want to be successful, I want to win stuff, and to do that you need to be fast. I was fast in the XJ40, but I pretty well knew how that car handled inside out. This thing is a big old question mark. We race at the end of March, which is less than 2 months' time now. Whether I can get this thing finished and then get it tested before then is a really big question mark, and I shouldn't be surprised if qualifying at Silverstone ends up being the first time I take this car out in anger, which is not ideal. So I really need to get a wiggle on, basically, and try and get it finished in time to get a track day in or a test day in, just so that I actually know how this thing handles before taking it out in anger. It would be very easy to trailer this car off somewhere and say to someone, "Oi mate, fix it for me." I'd love to be able to do that, but that's not economical, and I need to do all this myself to make it affordable, which, outside of a working schedule and everything else that goes on in life, you know, it's not quiet. There's always stuff going on, there's always things to do. It makes finding the time a real challenge, and that's what we're up against, time. I've been able to make this relatively affordable for myself. That was very important. And that's the reason I've ended up in a car that needs so much work, because it was affordable, but time is now very much against me.